the bigger thing I would say is do not follow the herd. Ask yourself why you want to do an MBA. If it is for more compensation, that is okay, but be very clear on why it is that you want and who are you. Is that a B school should be a place where you don't just find a job, but you find yourself.
All right, it feels really good to come back to a physical campus, talking to real people. It's been a long time that we are shooting people, looking at those very small screens. And right now we are sitting at the heart of business capital Bombay, and we are talking to the Dean of BITSoM here. We are talking to Dr. Ranjan Banerjee, who is going to give us a lot of insight about this new B-School that has come up in Bombay. Dr. Banerjee, while I was coming here to this very campus, I saw on my way IIT Bombay, where maybe your journey also started, right? It's just few blocks from here. From there, from IIT Bombay journey days to now helming the ship for this particular institute at Powai itself, how does it feel?
It feels pretty good. I mean, you look back at your life and you say that, you respond to opportunities as they come along and you don't have a grand plan. When I joined my last assignment, I was happily running my consulting company. I did not apply for the job, I was approached for the job. Similarly here, I was quite happy to continue building the institution that I was building, but I was approached with an opportunity, and that opportunity, I have always looked at the slope of my learning curve.
Right.
And for me, the time spent with young students and the opportunity to develop young students, and I've always believed that if deans were active teachers who were engaged with the student community,
right,
then it does something for the flavor of the institute they build.
Absolutely.
And that has been central to the way I work. That's what
Absolutely
keeps me going.
So, Dr. Banerjee, you talk about building leaders for tomorrow. You know how much of a stress it was last year, last 2 years for a lot of students, for people who were running these B schools, who were preparing these leaders to be future leaders for tomorrow. Do you think at any point that because of this online classes, because of people missing out on so many things, which is part and parcel of a B school life, has produced somewhat unprepared B school graduates in the last 2 years?
When they talk about marriage, they say that if a marriage endures a crisis in its first 2-3 years, then that marriage is far more stable and better prepared for the future. I would actually say that these graduates have done more. They have had to control their emotions, take classes online, give the same exams, get the same grades, interview at the same companies. The companies have not relaxed their standards,
right,
because people have done online. They've gone through the same interview processes, so they have done well. They have got as good or better outcomes in the pandemic. If you look at the top schools, you will see that internships are happening, placements are happening. In the process, students have learned how to deal with ambiguity.
Correct.
They have learned how to handle significant disruptions in the personal and professional life. What they may have missed out on is physical peer learning. So what we did from day one is we said that the students come to Bombay with social distancing, right? So our students are staying in Bombay even as they are taking classes online. Right. So their academic groups and their physical peer learning has not been affected. It's a prediction. You need to look at it 20 years. I see the pandemic batches will do better.
Right. And in your opinion, while you want to create the future leaders for tomorrow, what are the key skills that people actually need to look into in these kind of times that we are looking at to absolutely nail it in the future?
So I think the first thing is that when I graduated from a business school, and that's as far back as 1989,
yeah,
there were people who would join an ITC or a Unilever or a Citibank and say, I want to retire as the head of the company. I think it is today fairly clear that a business school graduate will have 3 to 4 minimum distinct careers in a lifetime, number one. Number two, within the same company, you may have to reinvent yourself a couple of times to stay employed, because there is, the roles shift so much. So one of the most critical things is the ability to reflect, learn and reinvent. Technology was at one point in time a business vertical. You had marketing, finance, information management or technology operations. Technology today is embedded in everything. So I think curriculum has to be redesigned and rethought for the digital world. So one of the things we are doing is, one, we are crafting a specialization such that technology is embedded. Irrespective of your specialization, you will do compulsory courses in data science and technology in the second year. So technology is deeply embedded. The third dimension that we will talk about is, given all this, today we have a health crisis. COVID started as a health crisis.
Right.
But it also became an economic crisis, a financial crisis, a social crisis. So the ecosystems are linked. So you need students who can see the linkages between business and society. Equally important, have a much better blend of hard skills and soft skills. I learnt introspection and reflection by accident and through failure, maybe 6 to 7 years into my working life.
Right.
We are teaching our students to do that reflection in the first year of the program. We have a block teaching model where a faculty teaches a full course in 2 weeks. Now, one of the implications of this is you are only in the classroom for 4.5 hours in a day.
Right.
I am giving you time to reflect. One of our faculty, the reputed Dr. Leena Chatterjee, formerly from IIM Calcutta, she's doing a personal development plan with every student. I've been in academia for some time. I have never seen such consistently high teaching feedback ratings. Our teaching standards are, I think, maybe as good as any institute in the world.
Absolutely. And to top that, you bat about a concept called design thinking, which is in everything right now, right? Everybody is talking about design thinking. So for our audiences today, if you can break it down a little bit as to what design thinking actually is.
Design thinking is broadly an approach to innovative problem solving.
Right.
What does the approach say? The approach says that given a problem, you first understand who the users are. And a user is anybody who comes in touch with your product or service and has an informed view of that product or service. Do not accept the problem as given. Go out and talk to the users, because deep conversations with users helps you to refine problems. And when you speak to users, what you're getting is what I call a multi-stakeholder view. This multi-stakeholder give you insights. Insights allow you to reframe the problem better. Now, when you reframe the problem better, then you ideate. There can be both divergent and convergent ideation techniques, and out of ideation, you come up with some potential solutions. So there is almost a right answer. The methods are known, the approaches are known, and it is a matter of analytically kind of finding that answer as per a set of techniques. An unstructured problem, for instance, I say, how do I design a curriculum that will evolve as industry evolves? As the pandemic impact loosens, how do we get people to still remember social distancing and masking? The problem itself is not clearly defined.
Right.
There are multiple stakeholders. Each stakeholder has a different take. So design thinking is best suited to semi-structured or ill-structured problems which have multiple stakeholders, where problem definition is a significant part of the problem itself.
Right.
Right. Now, as you move into a more interconnected world, where you cannot view things in silos, where even something as simple as, we learned unity of command, that you have one boss. In most organizations today, you don't have one boss, you are meant to remember. You have to interface within and across the organization. So the nature, frequency and importance of unstructured problems is growing up. The nature, frequency and importance of multi-stakeholder perspectives is going up. Therefore, you need design thinking as a capability. In line with this, there is something called a design thinking mindset.
Right.
Because in order to go to users and ask them with an open mind, you need to have the beginner's mindset.
Right.
Which says,
without having your own biases that my product or my stuff is just great.
I don't know, I don't understand.
Correct.
So the ability to internalize that I don't know and I don't understand and have that beginner's mindset is the second dimension, which is what I call the design thinking mindset, which actually the more work experience you have, I remember this corporate guy saying that in a design thinking workshop, very senior guy telling me, why will I not put metrics and business measurables when I go and talk to users? Why will I not structure that conversation? It took him a long time for me to just say that success is in whose eyes?
Right.
Your eyes or the user's eyes? So the whole inside out versus the outside in perspective that is required for design thinking, the more work experience you have, almost the more challenging it becomes. It allows you to get insight, but it becomes more challenging because every company, in any sphere, if you spend 10 years, that sphere develops its own language, its own jargon.
Absolutely.
That language and jargon prevents you from seeing the world through somebody else's eyes, because you can no longer adapt to a language that is completely neutral and open.
Absolutely. I would like to talk about your own journey here as well. You started with IIT Bombay, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, and then you moved to IIM Calcutta. Typical, IIT, IIM profile, and then you decided to do your PhD also after having your stints with corporates, of course. In all these years, how much of educational shift that you have seen?
I think education has changed, but if I look at management education, I'm not sure if it has changed enough.
Right. So Kotler is still effective?
Kotler should be effective. Kotler should be effective. Maybe Kotler should be adapted to the digital environment, but I think some fundamental principles will not change.
Correct.
However, I am saying something else. We created a management education that was purposed for the functional organization.
Right.
That was purposed for the functional siloed organization. Increasingly, these silos are breaking. Technology is embedded in all functions. People will not have purely functional careers. I don't know whether that flexibility we have fully made the change. We are doing it by embedding individual courses, but if you had to sit and say, what is the corporation of tomorrow going to look like? What is the leader of tomorrow going to look like? And how do we create a curriculum to prepare that leader? That's what we are trying to do.
Correct.
I think that is one. The second is, I would say the kids are far more aware. They go through we never had BSchool competitions when we started. Summer internships were not such a big deal. In that sense, we had a relatively stress-free MBA life. We focused on the courses. There seems to be so much more happening, and I personally feel we've tried to address it a little bit here. We don't give the kids enough time to reflect. It's a drawback of management education across the board. They spend too much time in the classroom. They're doing too many things. So internalization of core curricular elements and reflection around them is something that more needs to be done around.
Moving on, Dr. Banerjee, this is the founding batch. This is the first time that you guys are having students on board. What were your expectations when you were, roped in this institute and you started this whole batch? Were you expecting students to be of certain kind? Were you expecting students to have certain skills? And what is your, after a year maybe in this whole process, how happy are you with this particular batch that you're dealing in?
Oh, I'm very proud of our founding batch. Couple of things. One is, just remember that this is a new institute, but it's not a new institute. In what sense? It's a part of BITS Pilani.
Right.
Right. So you have process knowledge, you have support, you have the insight that comes from Mr. Birla. So you have a lot of backing. You have a financial investment of 1,500 crores over the next 10 years that is committed. You have the support of 55,000 BITS alumni. But what I would say is, look, the proof of the pudding lies in the eating. And early evidence today, Bain has offered internships to our students.
Right.
Unilever has offered internships to our students. Arthur D. Little has offered internships to our students. Cisco, Ernst & Young, PwC. So the top companies have come. And it's remarkable for a first year institute, right? I mean, if you know the MBA game, the quality of teaching that we are talking about, we had the Chancellor of Ashoka University, Purnangshu Paul, coming in and talking to them about liberal arts. Later on in this curriculum, we have Devdutt Patnaik coming and teaching. So the quality of inputs is of a high order. We have taken students who are truly diverse. In our first year, we have a 35% gender ratio. Many of your students have significant work experience. They've worked with leading consulting companies. They've worked with the Amazons of this world. So we have a diverse and rich founding class. Take a 5-year horizon. This is an institute to watch.
Absolutely. Dr. Banerjee, you teach marketing. You have been teaching marketing for a long time. You have actively taken part in a lot of these campaigns, maybe as well, during your time when you were working with corporates. From the time that you have worked in to the time that we are living in right now, where personal branding is something that has come on a big scale, influencer marketing is happening. China is doing live shopping, where a lot of these influencers selling products online, right? So drastic shifts have taken place. From that perspective, how are you going to prepare these students for the world of marketing that is coming in the next, say for example, a decade?
If you look at conventional marketing and your method of understanding consumers as the survey, basically you observed what consumers purchased, and everything that you had to say about motivation was basically detective work. Right? With digital, you are able to observe the consumer all the way through the journey. So the accountability of marketing and the role of digital in the marketing mix, to me, is the single biggest shift. Right? The role of peer influences and the role of even the fear of missing out is a single biggest shift. And I think what we are doing is two things. So the two things that I'll talk about very specifically. One is I mentioned this before, we are embedding digital in the curriculum. And I think that deep embedding of digital in the curriculum, if you look at our marketing specialization, we do not call it a marketing specialization, we call it a consumer insights and marketing specialization. And this consumer insights and marketing specialization, one is that you have much more data. So you will have data, for instance, a cell phone company can tell you in a particular locality in Mumbai who is doing what. I think a lot more information is available on actual consumer behavior that one can leverage. Students need to be digital ready, and we need to be tapped into this new world. I am not, my children are, I know this through my children. This whole world of YouTube influencers, for instance, right? And I think one of the bigger assumptions that has been broken is earlier if you said that if I want to reach out and change the behavior of a large number of consumers, I have to be a large company with deep pockets. Today it is possible for a single individual with an idea to make an impact on thousands of consumers. And companies and marketers will slowly realize that if there is a single individual who is reaching out to 10,000 consumers, then that individual is valuable and I have to engage with that individual. That individual also knows that their credibility is based on the community. And if they excessively subvert themselves to the commercial organization, then they will lose their community. So the community and the consumer are slowly gaining more power. That is the positive thing. The negative thing is that with comparison, I think we are becoming increasingly an insecure generation. We are comparing ourselves all the time. We do not reveal our real selves. We reveal more of the way we would want people to see us. So all of that, I think social comparison is on overdrive.
Yes. And what's your take on digital marketing and its expansion to the level that it has expanded? Now I think there is no going back from there. It's just going to, go full guns blazing with, Facebook marketplace. After that, Facebook is making a metaverse coming in, and there's so many things that are happening in so little time. What is your take on that? How is the world looking with respect to that, and how much stress and focus are you going to put on that?
I think there are two aspects of what we will call digital marketing. One aspect is the bells and whistles and what technology can do. The other aspect to me is that the fundamentals of marketing, that you have to create value for a consumer, that doesn't go away. What digital marketing allows you to do is to leverage the power of communities and consumers in new ways. It allows you to get feedback from consumers in new ways. But I think so on the positive side, and let me just dwell on the positive side. I think on the positive side, a Dove today is not talking about moisturizer, it is talking about real beauty. Because consumers are willing to engage on communities on issues which matter to them at a deeper level. They don't really want to go to communities for brand messaging. They want brands to link to things they care about, and in the process the community gets created. So I think brands therefore have to understand these deeper motivations and create communities. And if you are giving that power to the community and you're using it in a good way, you will get better products created.
Right.
Right? So there is a positive. On the other side, if you choose to appeal to consumer insecurities, and then there is this whole issue of privacy. So it's like with any tool, the tool itself is not good or bad.
Right.
Is to understand this consumer better.
Right.
And deeper. So I think if you view the tools as execution mechanisms, the fundamentals of marketing as a holy grail, and if brands and companies stay true to their values and core purpose, we can leverage this to create more connected communities of consumers, and that is the positive potential where digital can take us.
A lot of these students, they are in their early stages in their careers. A lot of them do not know what career will suit them in their life and how should they proceed with that. In such a scenario, what is your advice for them to make that selection? What should they look for in a particular institute if they are looking at, or for a particular course that they are going to take up in the future?
The bigger thing I would say is do not follow the herd. Ask yourself why you want to do an MBA.
Right.
If it is for more compensation, that is okay, but be very clear on why it is that you want and who are you. What is it? And that question may be uncomfortable because it is easier to follow the herd. But if you keep asking yourself that question, you are more likely to be A, sustainably happy, and B, sustainably successful, even though as the world keeps shifting around you. So that depth of introspection. Now, what I can say that a B school should be doing is that a B school should be a place where you don't just find a job, but you find yourself. So how do we help students find their best selves? And I think that is one of the things we are trying to do very consciously at BITSoM. We may not be the only institute that is trying to do it, but we are trying to do it very consciously, and because we are new, maybe we have the advantage of being able to do it differently, and in some senses maybe on a larger expansive scale with the kind of faculty that we are bringing in.
All right. That brings us to the end of this video. Thank you very much, Dr. Banerjee, for a lot of these insights that I was looking forward to hear from you about what you exactly think about the changing dynamics of the changing times that we are living in and how a particular student should think about it. I am sure the people who are listening to this, who are looking at this video at this moment, it will help them definitely make some choices in their life and lead them to the path that will lead them to success. Thank you very much.